Joining me right here on set is Applied Intuition CEO and co-founder Qasar Younis. It's great to have you here. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
All right. First, let's take a step back. What does Applied Intuition do? Because you basically build out the self-driving technology that many of these new cars that are implementing it have.
Yeah, exactly. We're what we call a vehicle intelligence company. So if you think about AI, it's typically on your phone and on your laptops. We make AI for vehicles. So that's cars, tanks, trucks, whatever you name, whatever you name it. Yeah. Some people sometimes call this like physical AI. We're like a subsection of physical AI.
Okay. And you come to us with news today about that software. Yeah.
Today we have our biggest product launch in the history of the company. It's funny you say we're under the radar, being a $15 billion company because you are not in Silicon Valley. We launched SDS, which is like a self-driving system that automakers can use. It's kind of like, if you think about self-driving, just to explain it a little bit, you have the Tesla FSD kind of systems, and then you have the Waymo systems. We're kind of like the FSD-like system, or Huawei has an ADS system. There's a couple of other companies that have it, but we make it for all the manufacturers. And so we announced that today because it'll be big news in the automotive industry.
Okay. Is this the year? Is 2025 finally the year that self-driving goes mainstream?
Well, I mean, definitely self-driving is having a moment, and I think will for the next many years. Like any kind of new technology, the issue that you've had is we've been talking about it for a long time, so there's fatigue as kind of come in. But in this time, the technology's actually been built out and it's been proven. And so the reason I think a lot of people are talking about it right now is you have Waymo's rollout in San Francisco and LA and some other places, and there's no drivers in there. And then of course there's other news like Tesla and other companies like us who are building systems to market now. And suddenly it's like, oh, this is no longer like a research thing. This is an actual thing. You just extrapolate over the next 5 to 10 years, autonomy will be very, very common. And we're just talking about passenger vehicles. This is happening in defense, it's happening in construction, mining, it's happening, you name the other verticals, everything's getting automated. Like this concept of smart vehicles is really becoming a thing.
Yeah, and you and I have crossed paths given your work, some of your recent work with the U.S. Army. For example, you are dual-use technology company.
Yeah, we're dual-use company, yeah, exactly. And what that means is we build stuff for the commercial market, but we also build it for the DoD and some of the military branches and the primes themselves. There's surprising overlap, actually, between how you build a car and a tank. It doesn't seem too obvious, but it's kind of a bunch of systems, you have a driver, and then when you make them intelligent, it's similar. Like, you're going to add some sensors, you're going to add some compute, and then it's going to help the person driving or the person in the tank actually do more things.
So you just did this Series F funding round.
Yes,
earlier this summer.
Yeah.
Is an IPO in the cards for you?
As I said to you last time, the finance folks always in this section say, do not engage. So I will not engage. But I think we're at that kind of size and scope of the company. The company, we've been very fortunate, we've been profitable, basically the existence of the company. So even a fundraise like this, it's to bring, folks like BlackRock to the table who are looking at our company completely independently. They're not Mark Andreessen, who's been with us from the beginning, or they're not, General Catalyst, who've been with us from the beginning. And they kind of look at our financial statements and say, okay, this is a good company. So that's the steps you would take if you're a company like us to go down a path to go public.
There's a big focus right now, and case in point, you saw it with some of the news today around Intel and the fact that the U.S. government is considering converting funds into an equity stake in that company. There's this big focus on this intersection between industrial policy, national security, how the government's thinking about it, and how that counters specifically China. I want to get your thoughts on that, because I know this is an area you think about quite a bit.
Absolutely, yeah. So we could spend an hour on it, but the short version is, in automotive specifically, the Chinese ecosystem has basically become its own economy. The biggest issue, or the biggest difficulty if you're an automaker globally competing against China, is the economics in the Chinese ecosystem are not as transparent as here. There's a lot of subsidies. Obviously, there's some protectionism happening. And so if you're a manufacturer in the rest of the world, what do you think about China? Well, one thing that you have to think about is, hey, the technology there is pretty impressive. The second thing you think about is, well, if that technology makes it to home markets and we don't have the same type of feature sets in our vehicles, we're going to lose market share. And one of the reasons we announced SDS today is we think that FSD or ADS, the Huawei product, these are going to be just table stakes going forward, and making the Western automotive companies more competitive is part of our goal.
So your plan is basically to work with all the OEMs ex-China.
Yes, exactly. China's the only country we don't play in, is the only market we don't play in for obvious reasons.